The water is rising. The clock is ticking. Families who lost everything once are staring down the same nightmare again. And this time, they may have only hours to escape Pakistan tonight, on edge, on alert, on what officials are calling an exceptionally high flood threat. Because across the border, India has opened the gates of one of its northern dams. Water rushing unstoppable, now surging toward Pakistan's rivers. And the warning is clear. This is not hours away. This is not days away. This is now, we have seen this before, and the images never leave us. Families standing waist deep in muddy water. Children clutching the hands of parents who don't know where to go. Homes swallowed in silence except for the roar of the flood. And here it comes again. Officials tonight say villages downstream are in immediate danger. Punjab, Sindh. Low-lying districts already saturated from heavy rains. The ground is weak. The embankment's fragile. The dams in Pakistan straining to hold back what's about to come. The equation is simple. Water released upstream means water unleashed downstream. And there is no stopping it. The question isn't whether it will arrive. The question is how bad it will get, and whether the people in its path will have time to move, time to run, time to live. We're hearing reports of loudspeakers in villages blaring through the night, warnings carried on megaphones. Leave now? Head to higher ground. That simple. That urgent. Waiting even for an hour could mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Mothers pushing their children forward. Fathers pulling livestock through waist-high mud. These aren't scenes from history. They're happening right now. It's not just about water. It's about memory. Pakistan has lived this nightmare before. Just last year, historic flooding drowned entire towns, displaced millions, and wiped out lives in minutes. People rebuilt barely piece by piece. And now, with one decision upstream, they face the same terror again. For them, this is not just a warning. It's deja vu with consequences. This is also about accountability. Cross-border rivers have long been flashpoints between India and Pakistan. Treaties promise coordination. But tonight, Pakistan is saying the warning came too late, the water too fast. And once the floodgates open, words don't matter. Only water does. Emergency crews in Pakistan are already moving. Rescue boats stationed along riverbanks. Temporary shelters built in schoolyards. Doctors on standby in makeshift tents. But ask anyone on the ground, and they'll tell you it's not enough. When water comes at this scale, no country can ever be fully ready. And that is the truth. These families, these farmers, these children, they live at the mercy of forces far beyond their control. They didn't open the dam. They didn't cause the storm, but they will pay the price. Their homes, their lives. So here's where we are. A flood surge moving swiftly across borders. A government on high alert, and millions of ordinary people caught in the middle, waiting for the sound of rushing water, waiting for the knock on the door, waiting for the moment when leaving is no longer a choice but survival. It is a reminder of how quickly life can change, how fragile safety can be, and how urgent the call is right now. Move, prepare, protect your family. Because once the flood arrives, there is no second chance. Across Pakistan tonight, families are bracing. Entire communities holding their breath. The warning is loud. The flooding could be devastating. And the countdown has already begun. In Punjab and Sindh, the sound is everywhere. The thud of shovels in the mud. The scrape of sandbags dragged into place. The crackle of voices on radios. People preparing because they know what's coming. They've lived it before. They know what water can do. Villagers are rushing to higher ground. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Children lifted into arms. The elderly pushed onto wooden carts. Livestock driven down narrow paths to safety. Every second matters. Every step away from the water could save a life. This is not just a warning. This is survival. Look closely and you see it. Homes stripped down in minutes. Families grabbing what they can. A mattress, a blanket, a tin of rice. There's mothers carrying bags in one hand, their babies in the other. Fathers pulling donkeys and cows through flooded fields because in rural Pakistan, livestock is not property. It is survival. The fear is real. The fear is justified. They remember the waters of 2022. Entire neighborhoods gone. Children swept away. Families forced to live in tents for months. Tonight, with the rivers rising again, the past feels dangerously close to the present. But fear isn't the only story here. What's happening is also about resilience, strength, The will to survive no matter the odds. These communities are not waiting for someone to save them. They are moving, organizing, protecting one another, neighbors building makeshift levees, families sharing food with those who left everything behind. This is what survival looks like together. Still, the questions linger. How high will the water go? How many homes will be lost? How many families will be uprooted again? Officials don't have answers. They can only say this: prepare for the worst. Prepare for a flood that could swallow whole villages, wipe out crops, and leave thousands with nothing. The urgency is written on every face. You see fathers glancing over their shoulders, measuring the river with their eyes. You see children asking questions no parent wants to answer. Will the water take our house? Will it come tonight? And you hear the silence from parents who don't have answers. It is a human one. When water rises like this, it erases borders, it erases politics, it leaves behind only people. People who want to live, people who want to keep their children safe, people who refuse to surrender. And so they keep stacking those sandbags. They keep packing those carts. They keep moving step by step toward higher ground because they know the truth. The water is stronger than any wall, stronger than any dam, but it is not stronger than their will to survive. Tonight, they are bracing. Tonight, they are preparing. Tonight, they are facing down the same nightmare that has stolen so much from them before, but this time, they're determined to fight for every inch of ground, every home, every child. The floods are coming. The families are moving. The fight for survival has already begun. The science is clear. The numbers don't lie. When water is released from a dam and meets the fury of the monsoon, the result is explosive. Rivers swell, banks buckle, villages drown. It is happening right now, and the warnings could not be louder. Meteorologists are sounding the alarm. They've been tracking the skies for weeks. They've watched the rain hammering the fields, saturating the earth until it can take no more. And now, add millions of cubic feet of dam water racing downstream. It's a perfect storm, a collision course of human decision and natural force. And the timing could not be worse. Already the rivers are rising. Already the current is faster than it should be. Experts say the soil can't hold anymore, that the embankments built to protect towns are dangerously fragile. Every hour matters. Every inch of rainfall counts. The margin between safety and catastrophe is razor thin. This isn't theory. It's not a forecast on paper. It's reality on the ground. In Punjab, the water level markers are climbing higher with every passing hour. In Sindh, farmers are watching the canals overflow, the water creeping closer to their fields. The pressure is building, and experts warn that once the rivers give way, the surge will be unstoppable. Science tells us why. Monsoon rains hit in cycles, relentless, pounding, day after day. Dams are designed to hold, but only to a point. When they can't, the release comes fast, violent, unforgiving. The combination creates one of the deadliest threats this region knows. Flooding that doesn't just cover land, but swallows lives. Listen to the urgency in their voices. Meteorologists are saying this could escalate overnight. Not days from now, not a week away, overnight. Which means families in harm's way have precious little time. Move now, or risk being trapped when the flood arrives. And here's the truth. You can't outswim this water. You can't outrun it once it takes over. The only choice is to leave before it hits. Experts say rivers already at a danger levels will soon spill past the banks. That once the water breaks through, entire villages could be cut off. Roads gone, power gone, communication lines drowned. This is why the warnings are blunt. Go, but wait for dawn. Don't gamble with your children's lives, because once the surge comes, there is no negotiating with it. The water decides. And it doesn't stop. But what strikes hardest is how familiar this all feels. Pakistan has heard these warnings before. Families have packed up before. Millions displaced just last year, crops lost, homes destroyed, lives turned upside down. And yet here we are again. The same cycle, the same helpless waiting, the same race against water that knows no mercy. And still people fight. Farmers building makeshift levees with their bare hands. Neighbors filling sacks with earth, stacking them one after another in the rain. Volunteers wading waist deep to help the elderly cross to higher ground. This is what resilience looks like in real time. The science may be cold, but the human response is alive, defiant, determined. Experts say the situation could escalate overnight. That phrase again and again, escalate overnight. Which means right now, as families lie awake, listening for the sound of water at their door, The outcome is still uncertain. The rivers are rising. The rains are falling. The dams have released. And the people downstream know exactly what that means. The science explains it. The urgency makes it undeniable. And the truth is this: the clock is ticking. The water is moving. And the time to act is slipping away. Pakistan is on high alert tonight. The sirens are blaring. The warnings are urgent. The water is coming and the country is bracing for impact. Disaster management teams already deployed. Rescue boats waiting at the riverbanks. Hospitals told to prepare for a flood of patients, not just water. The order is simple: be ready, be fast, save lives. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. It is not preparation for something that might happen. The rivers are rising. The surge is real. Officials know it. Communities know it. And the fear is already setting in. When the government calls it exceptionally high alert, it means lives are on the line. Emergency teams are moving quickly. We've seen the images: men loading boats onto trucks, women distributing sacks of rice and medicine, helicopters fueled and ready to lift off at a moment's notice. The coordination is massive, but the danger is larger still, because once the floodwaters hit, the margin for error disappears. Seconds matter, decisions matter. Every move could mean life or death. Hospitals are on standby. Beds cleared, supplies stocked. Doctors and nurses readying for what they know is coming. Injured families pulled from collapsed homes, children swept from their villages, elderly left behind and rescued in the chaos. The scenes are tragically familiar. They know what to expect, but knowing doesn't make it easier. In villages already vulnerable, feels like a race against time. Temporary shelters set up in schools, mosques, and open fields, mosques and open fields. Thin tents pitched against the storm. Cots lined up on dirt floors. Families told to leave behind everything but the clothes they wear. It is heartbreaking, but it is necessary. Because the water does not wait for anyone. One official put it bluntly: this is a race against time. And that's exactly what it is. Every second the teams spend now, every precaution they take, could save hundreds later. Move the boats closer, move the supplies higher, move the people first. That's the mantra. And it's repeated again and again. The warning signs are everywhere. Rivers already brushing their danger marks. Embankments creaking under the pressure. Canals spilling over. And still, the rain continues. Officials know that once the walls give, once the water breaches, there is no controlling it. That's why the urgency tonight feels heavier, sharper, impossible to ignore. And what about the people themselves? They are watching the preparations with a mixture of fear and hope. Fear, because they know the devastation floods can bring. Hope, because maybe this time the warning is early enough. Maybe this time the government's response will be faster. Maybe this time lives will be saved before it's too late. But the truth is harsh. No amount of planning can fully contain what is coming. Not when millions of gallons of water are rushing downstream. Not when monsoon rains are still pounding the earth. Not when entire villages sit at the mercy of forces far greater than them. That is the reality. That is the danger. Still, the teams move. Still, the shelters rise. Still, the hospitals prepare. Because when disaster comes, people fight. They fight for survival. They fight for their neighbors. They fight for their children. And that fight begins not when the water arrives, but right now in these critical hours before it strikes. Pakistan is bracing. Emergency crews are ready. Families are on the move. The clock is ticking. The water is rising. And the nation stands in the balance, waiting for the flood that everyone knows is coming. They survived once. And now they face it again. Families across Pakistan who lived through the catastrophic floods of last year are bracing for another disaster. The water is rising. The warnings are out, and the fear is raw. Picture it: a farmer in Sindh who rebuilt his home with borrowed money. The walls still damp from last year's floods. The fields just beginning to grow again. Tonight, he watches the river creep closer, knowing he could lose it all again. Not just crops, not just livestock, but his chance at survival. The truth is brutal. Millions were displaced in 2022. Whole villages submerged. Children carried through waist-high water, clutching school books that would never be opened again. Families forced into makeshift tents that became their homes for months. They buried loved ones. They lost everything, and yet they stood back up. They rebuilt. They planted. They believed in tomorrow. Now tomorrow feels stolen again. The fear is not just of water. It is of history repeating itself. Livestock, goats, cows, buffalo drowned in the fields. For farmers, this isn't property. It's their lifeline. Lose the animals and you lose milk for your children. Lose the crops and you lose food for your family. Lose the land and you lose everything. And the children, always the children. Last year, nearly half of those displaced were young. They lived in tents, slept on muddy ground, studied from scraps of paper when they could. Tonight, their parents are asking the same unanswerable question. How do we keep them safe this time? The water is coming, and safety feels further away than ever. But here is the other truth. These families are not weak. They are not broken. They have endured the worst and still stand. In village after village, they are preparing again, loading carts with grain, stacking sandbags at the doors, carrying their children on their backs because waiting is not an option. They will not give up no matter how many times the water comes. It is the resilience that strikes hardest. These are people who should have nothing left to give, and yet they fight. They fight for every child, every home, every scrap of land. They fight not because they have a choice, but because survival demands it. That fight is visible in the lines on their faces, in the calluses on their hands, in the defiance in their eyes. Still, the toll is crushing. Experts warn the damage could wipe out entire harvests. Food insecurity will grow. Families already living day to day will have less than nothing. And the emotional cost, the trauma of watching the water rise again, of hearing the same warnings again, is immeasurable. How much can people endure before breaking? That is the question hanging in the air tonight. Yet, even as the flood looms, hope survives. Not blind hope, not naive hope, but hope born from experience. They have done this before. You know the drills. They know the escape routes. They know how to fight for one another. And that knowledge, painful as it is, may save lives. So here they are, families who lost everything once, facing the unthinkable again. Farmers standing guard over their fields. Mothers clutching their children, refusing to let go. Fathers pushing carts down muddy roads, determined to keep moving. This is not just survival. This is resilience carved from tragedy. The water may come. It may take home. It may take home.